Hello guys, welcome to Zipcode, and today we are looking at another cup of code. I would say not quite, because we're looking at actually deploying our backend code or our Spring Boot application. So we want to see how we can utilize AWS S3 as well as AWS EC2 Instance to deploy our application and have it live on an environment where it can be tested, and we can have some users play around with it and see, get some real feedback, real test scenarios from real users, and we can see how that can assist us in improving our application and improving the tests in our application. So let's get right into it. We don't want to waste a lot of time. So the first things first, what you want to do is to have a Spring Boot application. You can create that through the Spring Initializer, and you can basically create or scaffold some controllers that you want to play around with, and you can have those controllers doing whatever you want or whatever you prefer. So basically what we have is our Spring Bank application, which we've been utilizing in this series. So now we will be deploying this in AWS. So let's see how we can get around doing that. And you will see some commands that I will run, you see some scripts that I will run. So those will find the description down below. And also I will show you one other thing. Let's just get right into it, and then I will run you down each of the steps. Sorry about that. So the first things first, once you have your application, it's very important to have your Spring profiles defined. So by profiles, I mean environments that you have. So if you have localhost, test, QA, production, and things like that. So in our application, we have our applications properties, which is what we have here. And in our applications properties, we essentially have, by default, we say Spring profiles is localhost, which is where we develop our application and test it. That is the default. If we don't set a profile, it will just assume localhost. But if we have a profile that is defined, then the application will run based on that particular profile, and based on the profile that we've defined, it will then utilize the properties defined in that particular profile. So if here I have test, and test will then be this properties file, so it will read these properties right here. So please do pay attention that the profile.active is only defined in this particular file right here, which is Spring profiles active, and these Spring profiles actives that add is coming from a POM file, which I will show you just in a few. So it's coming from our POM file, this value right here. I will show you just now. So all of these properties will be read for the localhost profile, and then the test profile will have these properties over here. So these are test profile, these are test properties, and everything looks like this. So what we want to do now is to see how we are going to have this value set. So what we do is, in our pom.xml over here, what we want to do is essentially add the profiles tag, which is which starts from here, and it has all of the profiles that we have. And as you can see, the profiles has, the first profile is localhost, and it has an activation which is active by default, and that is set to true. And the properties is Spring profiles active localhost. And then the next profile that we have is the test profile that we have right here. So now what we are going to do is to add another profile so that you can see how we can achieve this to run different environments for our application, and you will see this come in handy when we run our application in our EC2 instance that we'll create in AWS in a few. So for now, what we want to do is add a profile here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add the profile. Then I'm going to say UAT, or this will be your QA, things like that. Then I'll call this UAT. And I do have a video where I discussed the profiles in detail, so please do check that out as well. So I won't dive deep into this. I'm just showing you as we add another environment within our AWS, how we go about achieving that. So this profile has now been added. We're going to save it there. And then what I'm going to do, I will take everything that is here in the test properties, and I'm just going to paste that. And what I want to do, I'm going to say this is UAT, and I'm going to say OK. And then I'm going to go to UAT right here. And the app base URL, I'm going to add the EC2 instance that I want. And then the database, I'll change this, but I won't change the database because it'll take longer to create the database within the new AWS RDS. So what we need to do now, we have our application, we need to configure the Maven build for this. So we're gonna say right click here and we're gonna say run configurations. So our configurations, as you can see here, it has Spring Boot, it has, okay, the base directory is project bank, which is basically the Spring Bank application that we have. And what we want is actually not the Spring Boot run, which is old. We want the spring.run profiles dot active, which is localhost. So we want this parameter to be there when we run our application. So now we have localhost, we have test, and we have UAT, and we will basically apply this. And this is our Maven build, and we can run this build. So what it will do now, it will build our jar file and package it with all of these profiles that we've defined. And when we run the application, we just define the property of environment. So Spring Profile will tell this application which environment to run for. So if you say test, it's going to run for test. If you say localhost, it's going to run for localhost. And you say UAT, is going to run for UAT. So now everything ran through fine. And let me show you as the application started what it does. So if you look at this line here, the following one profile is active, and if you look at the profile that is active is localhost, because our build did not define any profile, and we had said by default just put the localhost profile right there. So that is looking good and our application is fine. So just to make sure that everything ran through, let's just do this. What we want to do is right click here. Let me just click on this because I wanted to give us more options like that. So you can do a Maven clean, and then to clean the target folder of the deployment artifact, which is target. And then what we want to do is we then want to Maven install. Then it will give us a new deployment artifact with all of the changes that we just did right now. So let's just run that and let's just wait for it. All right, so it's coming through, and let's run that. Boom, boom, boom. And let's see. So as you would see, okay. All right, so build success. So now we will find the artifact in the target and snapshot.jar. That's what we are looking for. So now let's go to AWS, where we'll plug in this artifact of our application. So now I've shown you how you can create the application to have or cater for different environments. And now we want to create an environment in AWS so that we can be able to run the application where we want it to run. So I'm going to create, let me go to services, and I'm going to go to EC2, which is that. And let me go to instances running, which is just going to give me a table of my current instances that I have. And you can see I have no instances here on this particular region, which is the Cape Town region, which is fine. Then I can say launch instances. And then I will just call this Spring Bank UAT environment, something like that. That's just the name. And let's see, Amazon Linux, that is fine because I'm on a free tier, so I want everything to be free tier, and everything else I can leave as is for now. I don't need to change anything. Auto assign public IP enabled, create a security group, that is fine, and allow SSH traffic from anywhere, that is good. HTTP traffic from the internet, HTTP traffic from the internet, also that is fine, because we're also going to add some rules over there. So everything else is fine. We can just use the default settings. And let's just see key pair. Let's just say create a key pair. Let's say proceed without a key pair. I don't really need one at this point. At this particular point, I don't need one because I know you would maybe see like tutorials where they would also show you how to SSH into that particular instance so that you can be able to make some run commands in the particular machine, and you'll be able to deploy the artifact and things like that. But in this case, I want to show you that you can utilize AWS itself just to connect to the instance and run the same type of deployment without even having to do all of these overhead. So let's just say view all instances. So let's see. So the instance is running. So everything is looking good. And now what we want to do is essentially create a S3 bucket. So before we do that, status check, initializing. Yeah, so once this is spinning up, so let's create a S3 bucket for this particular deployment. So we're gonna go to S3, and we are going to create a bucket here. And we're going to name this bucket UAT. Let's say UAT environment Spring Bank bucket, like that. So that bucket is fine. UAT environment Spring Bank bucket, and that is there. And let's see, ACL disabled, so that is fine. Bucket owner overhead, block all public access. We actually don't want to block anything, so let's just leave that. I acknowledge that. So this just tells you that you acknowledge that the bucket will be public. We do want the bucket to be public, so that is fine. And then let's see what else we have here. So everything else here, we can also use the defaults. So we just create the bucket, and let's see what we get. So now we have a UAT environment Spring Bank bucket. Then we want to click on this bucket, and the way that now you make a bucket public, I know the older way there was an easier, you just say like bucket public, but the current way you have to add the public script into the bucket policy. So let's just go to properties. We should see bucket policy. Let's just see what we have here. Object lock. Let's see. This bucket key, bucket versioning. Let's say permissions. Block all so that pub bucket can be. So yeah, that is in permissions, bucket policy right here. So we can edit this script, and if you want this script to make your bucket public, you can just get it from your from the description down below, and you can basically use the same script. So this is the script to allow our bucket to be public. So we just paste that script over there, and we have public read get object allow and s3 get object, and the bucket name you basically get it from right here, and we just copy that bucket name and we just change this to the bucket name like that, and everything else is fine. So now what we want to do is save changes just like that. So now our bucket is public, and what we want to do from here on is just go to objects, and we want to create, let's create a folder and call it applications, where we will be uploading our artifacts. Do not specify encryption key, so we can just create the folder just like that. So now our bucket is public, and now it has a folder. So let's take this folder just like that and upload these particular artifacts. So we're going to upload the artifact that was deployed by our Maven right here. So please note this is in S3, which is very, very important. So this is in S3, and we're doing this in the bucket. So add files from here, and the file that we want to add is the jar, not the jar original. We want to add the jar snapshot. So let's take the jar and we open that, and now that's the snapshot that we created from our Maven build, and we just click upload that, and it's gonna take a while to upload the artifact. All right, so artifact uploaded, so everything looks good now. So we're done with S3 now. This is all we need to do with S3, and we're done with it. So the next thing that we need to do is go to our EC2 instance. So let's go there, and it should be up by now. So let's say instance, the running instances, let's see. So everything looks good, status checks passed, everything is fine. So now let's just click on that, and what we want to do from this particular screen is just click on connect. That's what we want to do, and connect using EC2 Instance Connect, and we want to do that. Let's connect. Now this is going to give us a terminal that we can use within the browser, which is as responsive, as quick, as reliable as we need everything to be. So there's no hassle of you using PuTTY, because you're going to get the same thing using the terminal in the browser, which I feel is much more efficient. And also it minimizes the overheads that you have. So now we have our EC2 instance. So what do we do from here? So The one thing that we want to do is sudo let's do that. So now we are on root IP, so that is fine. So now we want to run a couple of commands. So the commands that we want to run is, first let's get yum so that we can be able to install Java. We are going to run a Java application. So let's do that, and that is sorted. And let's just do that. Let's run that command. Boom. So now that everything is fine, now we want to install Java. So I'm installing Java 17, and that is primarily based on, if you look at the POM file from my application, let's go there, let's go up there. You will see that my Java version is 17, so I'm getting that particular Java version. So let's go there and let's run that. Let's run that. So now what we want to do is wait for that to finish, and let's see what we have. Then we're gonna run Java version. Okay, so now let's just do Java version. Let's see that. Okay, so now we have Java version 17, and that is all good right there. So now that we have that, everything is looking good. Now we want to import our deployment artifact. So our deployment artifact is in S3. So we're gonna run this command with the link to our artifact. So what we want to do is essentially just run a wget, and we're going back to our S3 right here, and we're gonna go to our bucket that we created and go to our artifact. So let's click on the artifact right here, and we will take the object URL. That's what we want. Copy the object URL, and then let's go back to our console right here, and we want to run that, and voila, quick like that. Now we have our artifact over there, and the last thing that we want to do is basically run the application with this particular command. So as you can see here, what we're running is Java jar, and we're passing this particular parameter of string profiles active run UAT instead of test. Now we want to run UAT, and we click enter, and we wait for the application to start up, and you can see profile active is UAT over there, which is good. And let's see what happens there. Boom, 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 everything's created, started on the bank application. So the application is started and everything is running as we expect it to start. And basically, once the application starts, we are able to then interact with the application and do whatever we need to do. So with the test environment, let me just go to, with the test environment, I'm able to come to my Postman and say, instead of localhost, I want to go to test, and I can go to login, and I will just do a login, and I'm able to let's see there. Okay, I think my application is down, so let's just see the test environment. Yeah, application is down, so let me just run the application right here. So oh crap, that is cool. I didn't want to run that anyway. I wanted to run that. Yes, that's what I wanted to run. Okay, so now we're running the test one, and you can see that the profile is active and this is running test. So this instance that we just deployed now is running UAT, and the other one is running test. And I'm able to now, on my Postman, just go to environments. So you can see, even on localhost, there's a localhost URL here, and on test, there's a test URL here, as you can see. And then on now we're gonna add a new environment, and we're just gonna call this environment UAT, and that looks fine. And we just gonna add the variable base URL, and we are going to let's say we will add a URL just like this one, but obviously we're going to take the one within our new instance over there. So let's put that, then let's save this. So for now, let's go back to our application here. And so we're done with the S3 object object URL. Now we want to go back to our EC2 instance and go to that particular instance, and let's take the public URL. So the public IPv4 is that, so we can basically copy that one, and we can come back to our Postman and just paste that. We can paste that right there. Right, only took the IP address, so let's just paste that over there, and let's copy this and let's paste it over there, which is UAT. Then we save this. So now, before I even change anything in terms of like security groups and stuff, let me just show you. So here, this refused, so now the application started in test. So if we do a login again, it should be fine now. So let's get a response. Boom. So we're able to log in. Now I'm going to switch to UAT just like that. And now I'm going to try and log in. And let's see what that gives us. I'm just wait for a response and see what that does. So it's taking longer than usual and it's going to fail. The reason why it's going to fail, we need to allow traffic to be able to come into the server and interact with the server. So that is expected because this request is going to time out. So now let's go back to our EC2 instance. And what we want to do now in this instance is go to security, and we want the inbound rules. Crap. Let's open this. So inbound rules, outbound rules. It has one and allows all. This one allows TCP on all but port 22. So we want to edit that. So let's go to, we want to go to the security groups, because that is where the access rules are basically being handled. So let's go to that particular security group and let's check the rules there. And you can see inbound rules is basically SSH, so we want to change that. Say add rule, we say custom, that is fine. Let's say, do I want to give all or just give 80/80? Let's give 80/80 for now, because we want to point it to that particular application, straight to application. So then we're gonna say the source can be anywhere, so that should be fine. Let's save that. Please sign in again. Let's just say reload. Let's see, why did it log out? Let's see, let's try again here. Please sign again. I'm going to reload to sign into AWS Management Console. Okay, so let me just log in and then it will come back again. All right, so now we have logged in and we want to add our rule. as we're adding it, 80, just like that. And we want to allow traffic from anywhere, and we want to save this rule, and voila. So our rule is saved as expected. So let's see. Let's go back to our Postman, and now we're going to try log in again to UAT. Now let's see what it's going to do. Boom. So now we get a response back, and you can see that we were simply blocked by this particular rule that did not allow our traffic to access the port 8080 within our application. So now we're able to tell it that please open the instance for this particular traffic, and everything now is running smooth. We're able to get a response back from the server in UAT as well as in test. So you can basically apply the same steps to create a new environment and be able to create the different profiles for the different environments, and you run your instance the way that you want. So if we go to let's go to the instance itself, and we go back to the instance, and we want to connect to the particular instance so that we can see what's happening there. Say connect, but now we won't be able to follow up because we basically lost that session within the browser, which is the only drawback, but you'll hardly lose connection. I think it's just an issue on my internet, but everything is fine. So you'll be able to follow up with the logs and what's happening right there. So there's nothing hectic. You can still do a Java jar, then you want to pass in string profiles active, and you want to essentially do a UAT since it's a UAT instance, and you want to run the Wonder Bank snapshot. Let's just take that from there since that's a long name. Let's take that from there, and then let's just paste that over there, and you'll be able to do that. Unable to access jar files because it's being used by the instance that we lost. But besides that, it should be able to run, it should be able to be fine, and you can follow the logs as the application goes. Or what I can do is basically just bounce the instance right here, and then close any open session, and then I can come back and run it from this instance, and then can follow up with what's happening in the application logs. And basically that's it. But besides that, everything is running smooth as expected, and we're able to interact with our application. So just to prove that we were able to get the data, and now let's just get let's do something here, and let's just say save. Let's get maybe dashboard, something like that. Get dashboard. Let's see what is this. Oh, this is test. Let's see there. The test user is still fine. This should be UAT. Yes, and the login should be a UAT login. So let's log in test, right? And let's log in UAT, right? Then let's take the UAT URL, just like that. The UAT JWT. Now let's put the JWT right here. Save that, and then we're gonna come back and get the balance here. And let's just send that. So as you can see, we get the same response, and that's because I'm using the same RDS database in both profiles. So that's why you get the same data. But what you would want to do, let's just go to databases here, RDS databases, and you can see Springbank DB, it's available, and it's a Postgres database, and you can see over here on my UAT properties, I'm basically using the same database as I am using on my test profile right here. But essentially everything is running as expected. The only thing is now just changing the database to point to the correct database of that particular environment. Then voila, you are ready to connect to your application and run your application like that. So I hope this came in handy and I hope it was helpful. So make sure that you have your database in the RDS or available over your network so that you can be able to interact with the database and perform your CRUD operations. And once that is set, then you have your EC2 and your S3, and essentially you basically follow these commands as we did, and everything should run as smooth. And I hope that you like this one, and I do hope that you also check out the other video where it has the profile in detail, the profiles in details, and how you can set those up in your Spring Boot application. So the front end of this application, it is the Ionic mobile application that we are busy with, and as you can see, I'm using the Ionic framework platform, so that allows me to do a number of commits. So each commit that I do, I'm able to start a build and basically choose which build I want. So I can build an iOS, an Android, or a web, and basically this then speaks to the Spring Boot application, which is the back end of what I'm doing. So please do watch the Ionic series as well, so that you can see how we integrate, how we log in, how we do security, authenticate users, also doing forgot password, one-time PIN, or OTP verification, and things like that. So please do check the Ionic front-end mobile development. We're using Ionic, and we are using AngularJS and TypeScript with that. So please do watch out for those as well. And I do hope that you do subscribe and like the video. Also do comment any concerns, any questions if you have. But for now, cheers.